Deputy Fitzmaurice and then Deputy Moynihan in that order.
Gurmagut Can Corla, and I welcome the opportunity in speaking. First of all, I think, Minister, in fairness, regardless of which side of the debate we're on, I want to acknowledge, in fairness, compared with any other minister, that in fairness to you, you've met us a good few times in talking about this, and I think that needs to be respected. The report that came out in Galway was very clear that funding was the first issue, and while I know when we met you with your department officials there was a figure that went up a bit in, but the deficit that's in Galway compared with most other counties, not all, but most other counties, is massive. We have a county that is starved of funding, and not only that, but if you look at Galway, the turnover, and I see it in be it the County Council in Galway and in the likes of the Tuam Municipal District and Ballinasloe, the turnover of staff that are going to other places because of the basically starvation of money is ferocious. And we have lost good people because the reality of it is there was more certainty in other places, and I think that we have to address that. I know at our meetings that your officials were talking about the local property tax, and that at the end of 2019 there'll be a few more pounds or euros in the kitty, but it isn't a small bit that's going to solve Galway. And I understand as well, I'm not saying that your department has to be the financer of all of this. There is a lot of different sides to it in the line of road infrastructure, for repairment of roads, as Minister Kine pointed out about, you know, along the coast. We have islands, as Deputy O'Keefe would have pointed out, and it is the second biggest county in Ireland. That must be remembered. There is also, and I spoke about this on numerous occasions to you, Minister, on the peripheral areas, there is there's a lot of people seriously worried that they would be basically left as the forgotten people, because I think Galway has something like 6,400 kilometres of roads in it, and the budget that they get for that compared with 2008 I think is something like 30–40% less now, which is causing difficulty. And obviously and this is the problem that happens, obviously where there's high proportion of traffic going into the likes of Galway, you are going to get more spint on that than some by road going up to a few houses, and those people really feel aggrieved. And I would urge one thing, that no matter what way you're going forward down the road, and I understand that you're talking about in the autumn bringing in a bill, no matter what way we're on about it, the first thing we need to do is show me the money. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the municipal districts, and this isn't for just Galway or County Galway, the municipal districts around the country needs to be in charge of their own destiny and needs to know budgets that's coming in, because you can't have it in a situation that you have your tongue out every year wondering what's going to come. Minister Kine spoke about the extension of the boundaries, and you know, we all have to acknowledge, and I'd be the first to say it, that Galway cannot stay stagnant the way it is. It has to, first of all, it needs infrastructure, and I know that the outer bypass, in fairness, is moving on. Deputy Connolly would have highlighted for many a year the need for a public transport service in Galway City, because I can come to Dublin, I live 40 miles from Galway, and I can come to the Dáil quicker than I can get into the council buildings in Galway, because the way the traffic is. And that is causing, you know, for a city of the culture, the heritage that it is, and it is causing major problems for even attracting inward investment. I know that the people that would be representing the city part of Galway have reservations about the mayor, the way it's done and that. I'm not going to claim I'm an expert in that, because when you're out the country, you don't know as much about it. We have our own mayor in the county council. The one thing that if you were extending the boundaries, that we have to make sure that the funding is in place for the rural area, be it in Connemara, be it in Portumla, be it in Ballinasloe area, be it in the Tuam area. We have got to make sure that those areas on the periphery are looked after. I think it may be worthwhile looking at extending boundaries, because it is acknowledged that Galway is a city that will grow. There is huge potential if the likes of Athenry had their sewage scheme, and the likes like Ordenmore is filling up fairly well, and Galway sort of can only grow out a couple of ways, because obviously there's a coastline again it on one side. I think that debate needs to be had. I don't think the people are, you know, and I want this to be very clear, are against you trying to, you know, change things in Galway, but it's how we change it and how we put the steps of the stairs in place. That the funding part of it is crucial for County Galway and the people living in those areas. In the line of the bill, if you're, I don't know whether there's talk that you're going to bring in a separate bill for Galway later on in the year, I think that it would be good to work with the deputies, as you have done, and I think that has to be acknowledged, to work with the deputies across the board, the way that when we go to bring in something, that it's working together on it. And the other side of it is, Minister, as Deputy Kine pointed out, the money that was being, the 1 million or 1 point whatever, 2 or 3, that would be going to the 5 municipal districts or whatever. What's the story with that at the moment? Or where does that lie? I think that Minister Kine talked about earlier on in the bill, and in fairness to deputies, and I think that this needs to be made clear, the Cork situation was miles ahead of, say, Galway was thrown in near the end, and in fairness, nobody wanted to hold that up to all opposition parties, in fairness to them. I think that you know, Deputy Kine questioned, did some people change their mind or whatever. In fairness, everyone was very clear, and there was one message that came, that they didn't want to in any way hold up the Cork one that is, you know, look at it's gone on, Cork has gone on a good while. I think that yeah, we need to, for all counties, make sure that the municipal districts are the autonomy of them and the way that they function, the way that they operate. And the other thing, you have to be careful as well that, you know, if Galway is going to move out, whether people like that or not, and I think that's a good thing, it's going to move out, that other areas like Ordenmore and, as I've said earlier, out in Berna and heading out towards Athenry is going to build up. And that will become nearly another part of the city. And you have to look at representation, that if there was 5,000 people living in one area and down in the rural areas of it, because there is a genuine fear in the rural areas on the representation. You could go to get 5,000 people, you could travel a good distance. That, you know, proportional representation is very important for those areas, and that they're not overwhelmed. I think it may be a solution going forward on the bound to, you know, extend the boundaries if that case is needed, or if the department needs to look at. Galway needs direction as well, in the line of, you know, the amount of staff. They are under pressure. Talk to them in Tuam, talk to them in Ballinasloe. There's people coming and going, and that's not the ideal situation to try and give all the services that's required in those rural areas. And after that, Minister, I want to once again thank you for engaging with us. I know you might be not like some of the things we said, but at least I'm going to acknowledge that. Thank you.